Thanks. Hey, Mike.
Hey Carl, how you doing this morning?
Good morning. Good. I got my coffee here. How about you?
I do as well.
Um, so, like quick intros. I'm Carl Tashian. I work on special projects at Small Step. And Mike, what are you up to?
Yeah,
What's your role here?
sure. Hi folks. Mike Malone. I'm founder and CEO over here at Small Step Up. My background is in software engineering, and whenever Carl and I get off on a topic, it's usually fun. So I'm excited about this
Yeah,
conversation today,
me
which
too.
is very much unstructured. And Carl, just well, why don't you tell everybody what you told me like 5 minutes ago before we hopped on this call, and then we
Oh,
can work
well,
on
I
to.
mean, okay, yeah, we haven't talked about offensive security very much, like
Mhm.
on webinars at Small Step. It's just not really, it's like a whole world that, it's not it's the other side of the coin from where we usually are. And I mean, it's fascinating in its own right, and I'm excited to get into it today. I so Mike and I mean, we were talking about the Hugging Face incident with OpenAI. That was super interesting within the last couple of months. There's also just so much going on in offensive security that is like dramatic shifts within the last couple of years. An example would be um, the median time from CVE disclosure to active exploitation. Okay, 2018, it was 63 days.
Hmm.
2024, it was 5 days.
Hmm.
2026, it's -7 days.
Yeah, that's from Mendy and M Trends, right? I think it was from M
Yeah.
Trends. Yeah, that stat
Yep.
is great. So just to reiterate that in case people weren't like following the data there, that is how long between a CVE being published and active exploit in the wild. So a few years ago it was a week or so, and now it's -1 week. In other words, exploits are being actively or vulnerabilities are being actively exploited in the wild before CVE publication on average. It's wild. Hmm.
Yeah.
In other words,
And
the attackers are finding them before the good guys, right? I mean, that's
yep,
what that's saying.
absolutely. And the other one of the other stats I pulled just researching for this was about how vulnerability exploitation also surpassed stolen credentials as the primary initial access method
Hmm.
within the last year.
Hmm.
And
It's still close though, right?
they're
I think it's
close.
yeah.
So okay, but in the edge device and VPN like you know vulnerability exploits have increased sevenfold since 2025.
Mm.
So
On endpoints, on edge devices.
mhm. And the problem with that, one of the problems with that is that like edge devices are just they're hard to patch.
Mm.
They'll often require firmware updates. And so when a CVE drops, it's like, they're not fixed right away. Um and uh this year's was the Verizon DBIR report. They said only 54% of edge device vulnerabilities are remediated in a year.
Yeah.
So, and the median time to remediate is 32 days. So 32
Yeah.
days take to fix it, -7 days to exploit it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing I've been going deep on post-quantum cryptography, which is another whole webinar probably. Maybe we'll touch on it later a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but related to what you were just saying, I've built cryptographic bill of materials for TPMs for trusted platform modules, and I mapped it against um, a data set of TPMs that I know are active in the wild. These are fielded devices.
Wait,
Um,
first of all, what's a cryptographic bill of materials? What is that?
sure, it's a so if you've heard of SBOM, software bill of materials,
Hmm.
it's a similar idea, but it's mapping out your use of cryptography, the use contexts, what cryptographic algorithms you're using, what software and hardware dependencies exist. So if you want to know where am I using RSA 2048 or what devices need to be replaced ahead of post-quantum cryptography, the Q day when a cryptographically relevant quantum computer exists. It's an inventory of your cryptographic use that can assist in figuring that out. So in the
So it
case of
spans software and hardware. It spans.
yeah. I mean, so the bill of materials standards are all part of Cyclone DX, which I think is
Hmm.
part of uh, Oasis, I believe.
Hmm.
And their BOMs, their bombs span software and hardware, and they can reference one another. But yes. Um, anyways, the point of my story was I found a bunch of fielded devices that had CVEs in them that are unpatched going back to like Roca vulnerabilities from like 2017, you know.
Yeah,
Uh
just sitting around for years.
yeah, right. Because nobody scans a TPM. Uh
Yeah,
maybe AI does. So that's like a maybe another.
right. But that's not the kind of thing that posture checks are typically going to like
Mm-mm.
detect. Yeah,
No, definitely not. I mean, it's hard to detect in general. I mean, you have to connect to the TPM and run some commands. It's deep.
yeah,
There's a lot of stuff, TPMs aren't unique in that respect, right? There are a lot of blind spots.
right. So if that's the basis for an attack on an edge device, then like
It's a pretty
good luck
good
even
foothold
knowing.
being
Yeah,
in literally the bottom turtle of
yeah,
the security of the entire device, right?
right. Yeah,
You want to
yeah,
maintain a persistence in a system. It's a good place to be.
yeah.
Hmm. Um,
Wow.
well, I would say so. I think one of the most interesting observations, obviously, we got to talk about AI because AI is probably it's changing everything, right? Um, but one sort of interesting thread in like Mandate M Trends, Verizon DBIR, a few of these threat reports is that uh, we have not yet reached the age of AI automated attacks. Like that is not happening outside of certain exceptions. Those
Hmm.
exceptions, I think we're all wondering how much of it is marketing. Uh, Probably not all of
Hmm.
it. I'm not saying all of it, but
Hmm.
like, and I'm not saying we won't get there, but at least like for the time period that these reports cover, the findings are nobody's really fully automating attacks with AI. What they are doing is using AI the same way the rest of us are using AI, which is as a productivity tool.
Yeah,
Um, so AI is, uh, let's say, uh, reducing the cost of an attack. Uh,
yeah. And also, yeah, I mean, on that note, like just found a couple of like articles about, high school students with no technical background hacking, Japan's largest internet cafe chain, exfiltrating 7.5 million users' personal data so he could buy some Pokemon cards. That was his goal.
right.
It's like,
A sophisticated attack no longer requires a sophisticated attacker, right? Like
yeah,
AI is
with
good
a,
at, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, and I guess even so, I think you're probably right that it's not automated, but someone who has no technical background. I mean, a teenager who's really smart has always been sort of dangerous for you know
Yeah.
as a hacker, but this is just like a multiplier of that.
It's
People with a lot of
so
time on their hands
right. I
and
mean, look. we all maybe had friends who were script kiddies in high school, right? Um, uh, like that was a search problem, right? You looked for
Yeah,
a stupid unpatched vulnerability that everybody knew about, and you searched for someplace. It was not a targeted attack, right? You scan the internet for somebody who has like network gear with the default root password unchanged.
yeah,
Um, uh, AI is also good at search, but in a different way.
yeah.
It can search a target for you, right?
Hmm.
Very quickly. It can take one target and instead of just seeing if the root password is the default, it can check every CVE against this target while you sleep. Um, so stuff like that. It's good at persona development in phishing. Stuff that's time consuming for a human
Hmm.
to do. It can do really
Hmm.
quickly. Um, so I think that's important, right? Because it speaks to like the tactics and techniques and procedures, the TTPs of attackers and how they use AI today. It's not just fully automated, do the thing, but it does mean that attacks are cheaper. They don't require as much sophistication. That probably
Hmm.
means same attacks, but more volume, and it probably means targeting going down market. It means you don't have to be a Fortune 100 anymore for somebody
To be a
to
targeted.
be a
Yeah.
target. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um,
I think that's right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Is this really anything new? I was around on IRC. Exactly. No, what's new is like the type of search, right? Going broad with a
Hmm.
specific attack vector that in looking for, uh uh somebody who's slow, right? Versus being able to target one uh um uh one entity with a broad search, which a script kiddie isn't inclined to do, right? Um,
Hmm.
so you can run an advanced attack more cheaply.
Yeah.
Um, I see we have another question about software and versus replacing hardware. Um, yeah, that's another one that's interesting as it pertains to post-quantum. Uh, Replacing software can be expensive, right? Firmware upgrading a TPM is not an easy thing to do. It might be cheaper to just replace all that stuff. But one of the things that's tricky for planning is um, right now we don't even really have um, data on what needs to be replaced versus what could potentially be patched. So even just planning
Yeah.
is
And for post quantum, we don't have the hardware yet anyway to replace.
precisely right.
So there's
Um,
nothing to be done quite
yeah,
yet
and
on the
some of the
hardware side.
hardware is soldered onto industrial equipment.
Yeah. That's going to take a lot of time.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. Um, I also, so I also did a deep dive on, I think the most terrifying thing I learned was from the Hugging Face OpenAI talk at Black Hat, which was a really good talk from the folks at OpenAI. And they're basically saying, yeah, like following up on what you said about, people are not using sort of orchestrations of agents to do automated attacks yet, but they will. And the Hugging Face OpenAI incident is like the, you know, first example, maybe an early example of that happening, right?
Hmm.
And happening totally unintentionally as a side effect of evaluating frontier AI, but like it will be done intentionally soon.
Hmm.
And these agent collectives attacking targets is just like to me that's pretty terrifying because what do you how do you defend against that? Right? It's
Yep.
it's just escalates all the things that, all of the defense strategies have to be become well, not all of them, but you have to add a lot of automation on that side in order to make up for the automation on the offensive
It's an
side.
arms race, right? So now
Totally.
you need AI to help find the vulnerabilities offensively before it can be used, or sorry, defensively before it can be used against you offensively. Which,
Yeah.
by the way, is a great marketing strategy and revenue stream for the Frontier
For
Labs,
OpenAI.
who
Yep.
now, like game theoretically, all of the defenders have to pay
Yep.
OpenAI and Anthropic to find all the bugs before the bad
Mm.
guys find them. Um, yeah, yeah,
And
it's a
they were
mess.
saying you can't if you have a human in the loop at any point in that process, then you're going to create a bottleneck there compared to the
And
offensive agent. That's
Did
what's
did you
wild about
yeah.
it.
Did you hear Apple just put rate limits on their bug bounty program because it's
Yes.
getting so much AI
Yeah.
stuff? And I mean,
Yeah.
I can share some data from even from small step, a company our scale. Um, we started noticing this mid to late last year where our open source step CA had zero CVEs for 8 years. Um, which is great, I
Kind of
guess.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, and
And
then
thousands of stars. Like it wasn't
yeah,
like it wasn't
yeah,
being
right.
used.
It was not definitely being used. But yeah, we didn't have any CVs, and then we had three in 6 months. And the people who reported them told us that they found these using AI,
Yeah.
and importantly, all in code that had been written years ago. This wasn't like new bugs that were just recently pushed. These were bugs that had been out there.
Yeah.
So I mean, it can't find. I do sense though, just continuing on the theme of like what LLMs are good at and what they're not good at. It is search. It can do. It can look at a lot of stuff really quickly, which I think is what makes it good at attack chaining as well, right? Trying all of the different permutations
Hmm.
of if I combine
Hmm.
this CVE with this other CVE, what do I get? It can do that work, just orders of magnitude faster than a
Yeah.
human can.
Yeah. And one of the ways, so if you can slow it down, that's the other, that's another defensive strategy, right? If you can slow them down, um, then you get some more time. And there's a couple ways that I've learned about slowing them down. One is honey tokens, which is just like fake credentials,
Mm,
bogus API keys that you just sprinkle around, and then they, send the agents off on wild goose chase. Um, the other one is context bombing, which I thought was fascinating, where you alongside your, you know, just in various places in your systems, you put prompts that hit the guardrails of AI. And so the offensive agent comes across hey, can you help me develop inhalable anthrax spores or something, and then it's like it just stops. It stops.
it
This was
yeah,
research from TraceBit is the company, and they have a post about it where they were basically able to stop in their testing. They were able to stop sort of all of the attack agents just like
by putting that.
the
Huh.
successful attack went from like 93% to zero by putting that in there. Yeah, putting references to different things in there that hit the guardrails. So that's interesting, So I think some of the defensive stuff is going to look it's going to look pretty interesting, right? It's going to look
How
a little strange.
yeah. How often do you hit the guardrails on Fable
Not that
5?
often. I don't know that I have very much.
Oh, I do like literally getting AI to summarize my notes for this call this
Oh,
morning.
really?
It triggered Fable
Huh.
5
Yeah.
guardrails and switched back to Opus 4.8. Yeah.
Okay.
I
I've
was
been
like, "Oh,
using
you're talking
4.6 a
about
lot.
hacking? Nope, we're not going to do that."
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been using Opus 4.6 a lot because because I like the way it writes.
Mm,
So I'm sort of willing to make that trade-off.
yeah.
But I guess the guardrails must be very different on each model.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If you're on 4.6, it's totally different. That's Yeah, I hadn't heard that one. I wonder how long that's like. I recently was running some deep research and Claude just told me, "Hey, I was looking at this website and it tried to prompt inject me, so I ignored it."
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
uh,
Hmm.
um, yeah, okay. So AI.
Well, there
Um,
one more data point on that. Just on the kind of like defensive side, like how to find and fix CVEs faster. So I mean, we've all heard the story about like Mythos, being able to find tons of bugs in the Linux kernel.
mhm,
Um, so the other thing, one of the other videos I watched last night was the keynote from, I think it was one of the keynotes from Black Hat, where it was a researcher at the University of Arizona, and he and his team were able to find 2x more vulnerabilities than Mythos could in the Linux kernel. And the way they did it was they looked at all of the past CVEs on the Linux kernel and classified them and kind of came up with like, here are the general patterns that CVEs tend to follow. Like let's just
mhm.
group them into different
Yep.
patterns and make like a recipe book of like different kinds of patterns. And then that plus an agent, just looking through the code, was able to find an incredible amount of like 1,000 vulnerabilities in the kernel. And so now he's like, so now we have 1,000 vulnerabilities in the Linux kernel. Like he was just giving this talk a few weeks ago. He's like, what do we do with
What do
that?
we do with that? Right. Have AI fix them all?
Yeah, I don't know.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, I mean, I have some ideas. They're not like easy ideas, but we should probably get
Yeah.
into that at some point. I also think like there's some other themes that are worth covering beyond AI. I mean, one thing I've observed is nation state, just geopolitically, nation states are w way more brazen than I think
Hmm.
they had been previously. Not that attacks weren't happening, but um I think there was more reluctance to be in the news about it. Take
Uh-huh.
Stryker, for example. That was Iran and it was retaliatory and they don't care if anybody knows it, you
Tell
know?
tell me more about that. I haven't followed that.
Oh, the Stryker attack, remember that was the one where all of the device they got into Intune and remote wiped 200,000 devices. Stryker was a is a medical I believe they're in the healthcare medical sector.
Wow.
Um so it disrupted a lot of I think like ambulances and medical operations stuff. And I mean the interesting thing about that attack in terms of again understanding the attackers is it's not something you would expect anyone to do, really.
To wipe all the devices?
Yeah, like what is in it for an
Right.
attacker to just
Yeah.
wipe
Right.
200,000 attack? Why would they do that? They don't
Right.
they get nothing out of it unless you're at war and
Yeah.
it's just
Hmm.
senseless destruction of war.
Yep.
And then they get a lot out of it. They hurt
Yeah.
their adversary. That's it. That
Yep.
hurt is enough. So,
And then claiming it or not claiming it, if you're at war, then maybe you do
who
want to claim
cares,
it.
right?
Yeah.
And I think obviously China, I think has gotten to the point where the U.S. has been for a while, where they're like, yeah, we're trying to hack everybody all the time. Deal with it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
uh, and that doesn't feel great. Um,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess like yeah, this is probably how the rest of the world has felt with the US for a long, long time, and now the US gets to feel it. Um, so I think that's that's interesting. Supply chain, obviously, and uh, one thing that I have found really interesting is um, the industrialization um of the attacker economy, let's say. And maybe
Hmm.
I'm giving them too much credit, but I don't know that I am. Never underestimate your adversary, I guess. But um the 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 sort of adversarial community has specialized to some extent into like the initial access brokers, the people who break in and secondary actors who execute some sort of extortion
Hmm.
or data theft or some sort of attack against a victim. And um, that's really interesting to me that there's been that sort of specialization in
Hmm.
attacker type. And
There's a third piece to that too now, which is that because of AI, so for like ransomware attacks, um the payments for ransomware victims have been the payments have dropped over recent years. Their victims are like not paying, they're
yeah,
doing better
mhm,
backups and so on. But what's happening is if so it used to be that they just have the criminal organization would have like terabytes of somebody's data and they just um it wouldn't be valuable unless the victim paid, right?
right.
But what they're doing now is then applying AI to that huge data set and figuring out what's actually valuable in it,
What's leverageable? Hmm.
and then selling that on another marketplace, whether or not the victim ever pays.
Yep. Yep. And I don't know if you came across this concept of double dipping in your research either, but there's also um, uh, a lot of reason to believe that some of these extortion groups that are running these ransomware attacks are also either or are affiliated with nation states, and
Mm,
that they're also funneling this data into industrial espionage and well, and just plain old political espionage campaigns, and
hmm
so the double dipping being like the data is being used for their own internal purposes as well, and the ransoms are being used to fund these organizations off books, right? That's how they
hmm
are paying for their sort of nation state level attacks. Um,
But also sometimes funded by the state.
well, the state doesn't need to fund them if the
If it's
money if they
self,
can, yeah, if it's
if maybe
self-funded
it's
by
profitable,
their own
maybe it's funding the
activities, right? It's
state.
profitable, exactly. Right. Yep. Hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. And it has kind of split off into several. I don't know. There's also scammers, right? Which is a whole different class of like phishing and scamming people, um, individuals. That the number of let me see if I can find this stat. It was about the number of phishing victim reports in 2026, in the first half of 2026 is already surpassed all of 2025. And so that's a whole industry in itself. Um, and I'm not even sure that is state funded, right? It's like it doesn't. I don't know. There's. Um, I was watching a talk from a journalist who went to it. There's a town in the Philippines where all of a sudden, like this huge complex of buildings popped up, and it's just like a scammer's um, it's their compound,
Mhm.
um, and it turns out the mayor was in on it. And the mayor of the town, she just got elected couple years ago. She's sort of like a mid-level, it's believed that she's like a mid-level sort of assistant to this group, making sure that they're protected. Um, and when she went in front of they had her testify in front of the Senate in the Philippines, and it was like the O.J. Simpson trial. It was like the biggest news because it's just the craziest story that this woman became mayor and then, used the position to help out this criminal group to sort of build their whole compound and set up shop there. And they raided it, and there were like, I mean, there's people being human trafficked. It's really horrible, you know. Um, but what a world. I don't know. That doesn't even require that's not state funded, but it is like I guess assisted by politicians. in that case.
Right. And yeah, I mean, geopolitically, this is difficult, right? It's always been a challenge that um, the reach that you get with the internet means you're cross-jurisdictional, which just makes things challenging
Yeah.
in general. Yeah, I mean, as terrible as that all is, none of that surprises me at all. I sort of figure a lot of these operations are pretty institutionalized.
Yeah.
That's likely the case. They're sophisticated. I mean, I've seen some of the attacks against like venture-backed startup finances, and the attackers know the lingo, you know.
Yeah.
They know how companies operate. They know the titles.
Hmm.
They're not they're not as dumb
They
as you might
really
think.
start to
Yeah.
build they really start to build a strong profile of a company and kind of how it operates in
So
order to, yeah. Yeah.
so uh uh going back to the sort of industrialization of the economy, I think there's another observation I have in here, something I found interesting and sort of paralleling your stat on CVE compromise, which is uh the currency of this economy seems to be exfiltratable credentials or
Hmm.
exfiltrated credentials. It is
Hmm.
the liquid commodity that
Right.
is being traded, are credentials. Um, and credential exfil is really even in the case of initial access via vulnerability, credential exfil is a decisive step in almost every one of these attacks because it allows for lateral movement. It allows for privilege
Hmm.
escalation. It allows for undetectable persistence. And finally, it is the currency in this economy because
It's
when a
tradable.
secondary actor, yeah, but it's tradable. Exactly. It's monetizable. Um, so I think that's really interesting. And in I think the M Trends report, there's another stat from there. The median handoff time went from is so this is like how long it took from initial access to hand off to a secondary actor. In
Hmm.
2022 is 8 hours. In 2025, it was 22 seconds.
Hmm. Wow. Right.
So
So it just shows the coordination that's happening.
they've automated. That's what it
Yeah.
shows, right? Like is literally they have agreements in place and they've automated the
Hmm.
handoff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
we should probably wrap up though.
look, yeah, let me
And we
wrap
could
up.
talk about this all day.
I want to talk about some ideas because we've talked
Yeah,
about problems
we
and
have.
we've talked, yeah, yeah. And I think the only solution we've talked about is like shrug AI maybe. Um Uh, and yeah, and the other solution that we hear a lot about is sort of faster remediation, faster detection and response, which absolutely we need. Um, but
Yep.
I have a third idea, and this one is something I like. I'll say up front, I'm biased. It's been an interest area of mine for a long time, but I think it does help with a lot of these more advanced attacks, and that is just more deterministic, provable guardrails and mechanisms. Uh, we talk a lot about attack asymmetry, how um, it's the attackers sort of have an easier game because offensively you need to close every hole. Defensively, you only need to find one. Um,
Hmm.
uh, and how do you close every hole? It's hard to prove a negative, right? It's easy to prove that your app works. You just run through the required workflows, or
Yeah.
relatively easy. That can be hard on its own, but it's much harder to prove that it doesn't do anything that it's not supposed to do. That's proving a
Hmm.
negative. It's like searching the entire universe. Um, but we do have formal methods for proving stuff about
Hmm.
software, and we use them. We use them extensively for cryptography, for example.
Yep.
Um, and you know, modulo certain categories of vulnerabilities, which are just not in the same class as a lot of the ones we're talking about. Uh, no one can steal a private key from a TPM not even Fable 5, not even
Hmm.
Mythos.
Hmm.
Uh, and you can look at closed form proofs of other hardware and software characteristics. And I think those sorts of deterministic guardrails, as we see an explosion in these probabilistic systems, will become more and more important to
Yeah.
put them in a box and prevent them from doing things, give us assurance, a foundation that we can make like strong
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
can
Like
trust.
we
Yeah,
haven't seen anybody break TLS either in all of this yet
true. Yeah. Yeah.
because it's just so yeah, and it's got so much it's had so much verification around it over the years. Like yeah, I find I feel a sense of hope from that, that there are these foundational pieces. Post quantum is definitely going to throw a wrench in that. But we have time to figure that out. Some.
Do we? We're not enough, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sometime.
yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
more
we'll
on
have to
that
do.
later.
Well, yeah, more
Yeah.
on that later. We'll have to do another chat about post quantum. Um, exciting times.
Yeah. Sure is. Well, thanks, Mike. This has been fun.
Yeah.
And thanks everybody for joining today.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
See ya.